I'm Jeff Glor at CBS News headquarters in New York. We are on the air because we're getting word of a shooting at Los Angeles International Airport, or LAX. We're going to show you some live pictures now at the airport. Our Los Angeles station, KCBS, is reporting the shooting happened inside Terminal 3, possibly past the security checkpoint. We are told that a man opened fire, reportedly with a high-powered rifle. At least one TSA employee was wounded. Agents responded immediately. We are told a suspect is in custody. That's the information we have right now. KCBS is reporting that at this hour. Passengers inside the airport, regardless, reporting a chaotic scene. The terminal was evacuated. Passengers are being driven out of the immediate area right now on shuttle buses, and police have surrounded Terminal 3. They are conducting a security sweep. You can see what's happening immediately outside the airport right now. We have seen several people wheeled away, some taken into ambulances. Again, if you're just joining us, there's been an incident at LAX. It happened at 9:30 local time, Los Angeles, 12:30 Eastern time. We are told right now that between 1 and 3 are injured after this incident at Terminal 3, which is a big terminal at a big airport, LAX. Firefighters on the scene, police on the scene, trying to sort out what has happened. We're watching reports on social media as well. People who were inside the terminal at the time or nearby report that after they heard these shots, people were evacuated out of the terminal, and the terminal indeed has been evacuated right now. There are reports that at least one TSA employee has been wounded and that a suspect is in custody, one suspect. We're going to join Bob Orr now, who's in Washington, who may have some more details. Bob, what do you know?
Jeff, this situation is still unfolding and very fluid, so it's not yet at a point where we have all the facts we're going to want. But preliminarily, our colleague John Miller has been told by a law enforcement source that the shooter entered Terminal 3. That's a terminal, has a number of airlines. Allegiant Air is there, JetBlue is there, Frontier, Virgin America, and some others. That this shooter entered Terminal 3, according to this law enforcement source, wearing like camouflage BDUs, military-style clothing, and opened fire. Now, this is still preliminary, but there are some indications that they've gleaned from eyewitnesses, apparently, that he seemed to be targeting TSA employees. There are conflicting reports as to the disposition of the suspect, and there are at least some reports from the scene that there are multiple people down. But I think we have to take a breath here and say that until these rapid deployment teams can get in there, these are joint task force type teams, local and federal authorities, airport authority, until they can get a real sense of the situation, we have to be very, very careful about how far we go here. What's not clear to me is whether or not this situation is contained in the sense of the active shooter scenario. Police certainly respond in a way that leads us to believe that they've got some control on the scene, but that's speculative, and until they clear that area, and that's quite a large area there, Jeff, and until they can secure every part of that terminal and the surrounding area, they're going to be very slow to tell us very much. So we're making all the phone calls, we're checking with federal and local authorities, and trying to figure out exactly what is happening here and what's not happening here. Because in these kinds of stories, as we've learned too many times in the wrong way, there's a lot of bad information that gets out there. Now, there is one witness that we're hearing about that has told police that they heard a number of shots, perhaps in this person's opinion, about a dozen shots. But beyond that, again, Jeff, I think this is at the point where we just don't know what we don't know, so we need to continue to check. Jeff.
Yeah, Bob, stay with us for a moment if you can. A source now telling CBS's John Miller that the incident indeed at LAX did take place past the security checkpoint, Immediate action and rapid deployment teams, John Miller reports, have been formed. They are nearing the terminal now, if not there already. We are told a large box of ammo has been found through this source. The LAPD bomb squad is on the scene. They're trying to clear suspicious packages, any that they see right now. If you're just joining us on the air this afternoon, this is what we have to report. There has been an incident at LAX in Los Angeles, the major airport there, We are told between 1 and 3, right now that's the information that is emerging, have been shot. You see a man here, this video was taken earlier, what appears to be a TSA employee with that royal blue shirt being wheeled away, neck back, onto an ambulance by police officers. We are told at this point there have been multiple injuries. As Bob Orr just told us, as far as we understand right now, a shooter entered Terminal 3 wearing camouflage BDUs and opened fire. This is information coming from a law enforcement source delivered to John Miller. Preliminary indications are he was targeting TSA employees. We are told multiple victims are down. There is right now conflicting information on the suspect. Some reports say that suspect is in custody. We have not confirmed that at CBS News yet. In any event, you are looking now at live pictures of of LAX, I should say there. You can see the setup that firefighters and police have outside. They appear to be tending to someone on that yellow mat. Bob, with the information we have now that this incident took place past the security checkpoint, I wonder, what does that tell you?
But if this shooting incident happened past a checkpoint, then it leads to a couple of possibilities. One could be some kind of inside job, if you would, somebody that had stowed a weapon beyond the secure perimeter in what should be the sterile area. Other possibility, of course, you could have a situation, and we don't know if this is the case, where there can be a confrontation and a weapon is taken from someone who's authorized to carry. We just don't know. But if this information is correct, that the person's wearing some kind of camouflage pants, shows up with some kind of maybe high-powered weapon and fires multiple shots, it seems like he had at least some semblance of a plan. It's hard to envision getting a rifle, say, for example, past a security checkpoint. I mean, with all the metal detectors, the magnetometers, and the trace sensors that are at those checkpoints, people that travel, they know how tight security can be. It kind of begs the question, can that really be true? So these are the things that have to be run down. For now, the local authorities in Los Angeles, the police there, and the Port Authority, they have the lead on this investigation, but we're told that all of the federal agencies, as part of a multi-agency task force, are responding. And frankly, in talking to my folks at the FBI, their teams are just getting there in the past several minutes, so they don't have any clear vision here either. I mean, this is another one of these cases. We've seen it too often lately in Aurora, Colorado, in Connecticut, and in the Navy Yard here in D.C. just recently, where there's a lot of chaos, and understandably so, around the opening moments of these kinds of events. And I just have to emphasize to people that we really know only a tiny, tiny little bit of whatever this scenario is, and we're making all the efforts to find out those details we don't know, Jeff.
Bob Orr, thank you very much from Washington. John Miller joins us on the phone now. John, we just got some of your reporting that this indeed took place past a security checkpoint, and your information is that this person was wearing these camouflage BDUs. What do you know at this point?
So, underscoring that all of this is preliminary, and that, you know, in these things, the information we have at the beginning always changes at some point. Let me go with what we're getting from the scene. What we're getting from the scene is an individual wearing BDUs, military-like clothing, entered Terminal 3, produced a long weapon, a rifle, and opened fire. The preliminary reports was that he was targeting TSA employees. The preliminary figures we have, and these two could shift, is reportedly one TSA officer dead, 4 others injured. Again, that's fluid right now, but it appears he targeted the security checkpoint, which is where you would go to target TSA employees. And I think when you get to whether he was in front of security or after security, once you open fire, you're going to end up on whatever side of that security checkpoint you want. Now, here's a thing to know about LAX. There is no security checkpoint at LAX that is not backed up by an armed police officer, either from the LAPD's Airport Division or from the LAX Police Department. So there is an armed police officer stationed at every security checkpoint. So it's likely that even though the TSA people are unarmed, that at some point fairly early into this, this gunman may have been engaged by a police officer who would have been on the scene. What LAPD does in a situation like this is they go into what they call immediate action, rapid deployment. That means you call for the SWAT team, but you do not wait. As officers form up into groups of 3 or 4 with whatever weapons they have, a long gun, their pistols, they go downrange as small teams to try and engage the threat. Right now what's happening is Terminal 3 remains on lockdown. A search of the terminal continues by these immediate action rapid deployment teams made up of airport police and LAPD, and federal authorities, the FBI, ATF, and other agencies are arriving on the scene to start a unified command and a joint investigation.
John, what happens when someone who is military or appears to be military approaches a checkpoint or is near a checkpoint at LAX or any other airport?
Nothing special. Military people go through the same screening as normal citizens and are held to the same standards in terms of what they can be carrying, unless it's one of those rare instances where they're National Guard troops assigned to the airport for security, which is clearly not the case here.
John Miller joining us on the phone. John, thank you very much. Let's quickly recap what we know at this hour, and we are trying to confirm whatever information we can. We do know there was a situation at LAX. It took place at 9:30 Los Angeles time, 12:30 Eastern time. Many people report hearing shooting at the airport at that time. People have been evacuated. Terminal 3 has now been evacuated. There are reports of multiple injuries. We watched the video as what appears to be at least one TSA employee, here it is, being wheeled away, neck back, into an ambulance, escorted by police. We will keep following this situation in Los Angeles at LAX, what appears to be a shooting. Much more information on CBSNews.com throughout the day, and of course a full report on the CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley. For now, I'm Jeff Glor, CBS News in New York.
For news 24 hours a day, go to CBSNews.com.